Okay, so we're back in the Rambam's Mishneh Torah. We're in the second book, Sefer Ahavah, the book of love. We're in Hilchot Tzitzit, Parak Aleph, so chapter 1 of the laws of Tzitzit. So one positive commandment, that is to make tzitzit on the corners of one's garment. The clarification of this commandment appears in the chapters ahead. Okay, so Parak Aleph. The fringe that is made on the corner of the garment from the same material as the garment is called tzitzit. For it is similar to the fringe or the locks of hair of the head, as it states, quote, "And he took me by the fringe of my head." This fringe is called the white, for there is no command to dye it. There is no biblical assigned number of strands to this fringe. There is no biblically assigned number of strands to this fringe. A strand of wool dyed sky blue is taken, wrapped around the fringe. The strand is called techelet. There is no biblically assigned number of times that the sky blue strand is wrapped around. It follows that this mitzvah includes two commands: to make a fringe protruding on the corner, and to wrap the fringe with a strand of techelet. As it states, "And they shall make themselves fringes, and place on the fringe of the corner a strand of techelet." The techelet does not hinder the white, nor does the white hinder the techelet. How is this so? If one does not have techelet, he makes the white fringe alone. So too, if one makes the white fringe with techelet, and the white fringe tears and is diminished up until the corner, and the only techelet remains, it remains kosher. So basically, in the Rambam's, what he teaches as far as tzitzit is that the techelet is one half of a strand. So typically you have the strands and they fold over, and then you tie them. So the techelet strand is a strand that is half techelet and half white. So it's dyed halfway up. Okay, so techelet does not hinder the white, nor does the white hinder the techelet. How is this so? If one does not have techelet, he makes the white fringe alone. So too, if one makes the white fringe with techelet, and the white fringe tears and is diminished up until the corner, and only the techelet remains, it remains kosher. So although one does not hinder the other, they are not two separate commandments, rather a single positive commandment. One who wears a talit that has white or techelet or both together has fulfilled a single positive commandment. The early sages stated, quote, "And they shall be to you a tzitzit." This teaches that they both form a single mitzvah. The four tzitzit at the four corners of the garment do hinder each other, for the four comprise a single mitzvah. How are the tzitzit made? One begins at the corner of the talit, at the end of the woven material, and measures from the edge a distance of no more than 3 finger breadths, no less than a single joint of the thumb. So from the first joint of the finger until the fingernail. Into it, one inserts 4 strands, folding them in the middle, resulting in 8 strands hanging down from the corner. The length of these 8 strands may be no less than 4 finger breadths. If they are any more, even a cubit or 2, they are kosher. All measurements of a finger breadth use the thumb. One of the 8 strands should be a strand of techelet. The other 7 should be white. Then one takes a single strand of the white and winds a single turn over the rest of the strands on the edge of the garment and sets it down, and then takes a strand of techelet and winds it twice next to the white winding and ties it. These 3 windings are called a section. One then leaves a small gap and makes a second section with the techelet strand alone. And then one leaves another small gap and makes a third section, and so on until the final section, in which one winds 2 turns of techelet and a final winding of white. For since one has begun with the white, one ends with it. For one must ascend in sanctity and not diminish from it. Why does one begin winding with the white? So that the winding that will be nearest to the corner of the garment will be the same color. This is done on all 4 corners of the garment. How many sections are made on each corner? No fewer than 7 and no more than 13. So the way that he's telling you how to make tzitzit is a variation that you have a lot of leeway as to how to do it for yourself. How many sections are made on each corner? No fewer than 7 and no more than 13. So 7 or 13, you know how like the sections, right? So like the knots. This is the preferred way of performing the mitzvah. If one only wound a single section, it is kosher. If one wound the techelet over most of the fringe, it is kosher. The beauty of techelet is that all the sections should be on the upper third of the dangling strands, and the 2/3 should be in unwound fringe. The strands should be separated so that the fringe appears like the hairs of the head. So they shouldn't be all tangled up, but basically the knotted section is 1/3 of the length that they are from your garment. So whatever that distance is that they hang down from your garment, it should, the knotted section or the wound section should be 1/3 of that length. Okay. One who does the winding without techelet takes one of the 8 strands and winds it over the remaining strands up to 1/3 of the fringe and leaves 2/3 as a fringe. If one wishes to make this winding in separate sections as one winds the techelet, one may do so. And this is our accepted practice. And if one wishes to wind without counting the sections, one may do so. The general rule is that one should aim that 1/3 should be wound and 2/3 should be an open fringe. Some are not precise regarding this in the white. And if one winds the white over the majority of the strands, or only winds a single section, it is kosher. If one so wishes, both the white strands and the techelet strands may be made of several combined strands. Even if a strand is made of 8 individual strands twisted into a single thread, it is only considered one strand. Okay, the strands of tzitzit, whether white or techelet, must be spun for the sake of tzitzit. You must have the proper kavanah. So they may not be made of wool which was caught in the thorns upon which the sheep lie down, nor of the strands of wool which are plucked off the animal, nor from the remnants of the weft which the weaver leaves on the end of the garment, but rather must be made from shorn wool or of flax. They may not be made of stolen wool, or from wool from an apostate city, nor from consecrated materials, and if one made them of these materials, they are unfit. One who prostrates himself before an animal causes its wool to be unfit for tzitzit. But if one prostrates himself to unharvested flax, it is kosher. For once it is harvested, its character has changed, the flax. Okay, tzitzit made by a Gentile are invalid, as it states, "Speak to the children of Israel, and they shall make themselves tzitzit. But if a Jew made them without intent, they are kosher. Tzitzit that were pre-made and then attached to the corner of a garment are unfit." So the ones you buy in packages, who knows who works at the factory? It's funny actually, because I bought talit one time, the kind that go under your shirts, and it didn't even have tzitzit on it. Oh, how funny. Anyway, okay, how so? If one brought the corner of another garment which had tzitzit and sewed it onto a different garment, even if that corner was a cubit by a cubit in size, it is unfit, as it states, "And they shall make themselves tzitzit," excluding that which was made previously, for it is considered as if it was made by itself. It is permitted to untie the tzitzit of one garment and to hang them on another garment, both the white and the techelet. If one hangs the strands between one corner and the next, and ties each corner in accordance with its law, and then cuts them in the middle, so they are now separated, they are unfit. So basically, if they were looped strings going through the corner of your garment, and then you cut the loop so that they're individual strands, you don't want to do that. That's makes it invalid. For the and cuts them in the middle so they are now separated, they are unfit. For when they were tied, they were invalid. For the two corners were connected to each other by the strands between them, and when they were cut, they became tzitzit. Namely, they are made of fringes that were pre-fashioned. So if one hung tzitzit over previously existing tzitzit, if his intention was to nullify the first ones, he may untie or sever the original ones, and the new ones are then kosher. However, if one's intent was to add more tzitzit, even if he severed one of the two, it is unfit, for by adding on more, he has made them all unfit. And upon untying or severing the additional ones, the remainder have the status of pre-fashioned tzitzit. They were invalid when originally affixed. So too, if one affixes tzitzit on the three-cornered garment and then completes it to 4 by adding a fourth corner and then putting tzitzit on the fourth, they are all unfit, as it states, "You shall make," to the exclusion of being pre-fashioned. So one may not fold a tzitzit into two and hang tzitzit on its four corners as it is folded, unless it is completely sewn, at least on one side. If the corner of the garment where the tzitzit are affixed are torn, if it is more than 3 finger breadths from the end, it may be sewn. If it is within 3 finger breadths, it may not be sewn. If the corner of the garment between the strands of the tzitzit to the end of the woven material was diminished, even if only a bit of woven material remains, it is kosher. So too, if the strands of the tzitzit have become diminished, even if only enough to tie a bow remains, they are kosher. But if the strand was torn off from the point of its insertion, even a small strand, it is invalid. Okay, that's the end of chapter 1. Thanks for watching.